So, what do you want the world to know about you?
That I was a good and kind person.
You were.
That I tried my best at most things. Probably not yoga. That I loved teaching, that my students were my love and my life for 31 years. And that I was a darn good teacher. And I knew it because I loved them. And I went to something of everything of theirs. I went to a football game, a drama production, a choir concert, because I wanted to see them in their other world, not just in my classroom. And a lot of times their own parents didn't go.
Right.
And I filled that void, and I knew I touched lives, but I didn't realize how many until I got sick and posted a homework assignment on Facebook.
That was awesome.
And I got a lot of love from that. And a lot of good, funny memories, things I had forgotten, or touching things I'd forgotten. And it was, cancer has not been all bad.
Yeah.
It's had a lot of blessings. I am very blessed with a lot of good friends and a lot of...
You had a good year. You did it on your own terms.
Yep, I did.
That's something you should be proud of. A lot of people just give up, and you never did. You drove the bus the whole time, and you made them...
So a week ago I had to give up because the evidence of the body shutting down was greater than what I could sustain.
Right. Well, and
then that drags things on.
Well, the way that I equate it, and I wrote something to you last night in the middle of the night, I was dream writing. It's so funny. I get up in the middle of the night.
Do I get to read it?
Yes, I'll send it to you. It was like completely, my dream self doesn't spell well.
Okay.
So I went home and I opened up my computer and went, oh, that was good. Because you never know if it's just nonsense. But I'm seen a lot of people. I've been through this journey with a lot of people, and you really did it on your own terms, and
thank you.
You had a good year, and you did a couple trips.
I think it's because I'm a control freak. I wasn't going to do somebody else's terms.
But even control freaks. No, because you knew what was right for you. Mm-hmm. And I remember in the beginning it used to upset you when people gave you a hard time, like, well, how did you let this happen, or why aren't you doing this? And you didn't ever let anybody drive your bus. You did it for you.
I just found this quote the other day, and I want it to come out somewhere.
Okay.
It says, how big your heart is not measured by how much you love, but by how much you're loved by others.
That's very true.
And I feel very loved, and I do feel like I have a big heart.
You do. You're right.
I'd rather give than receive. It's easier. Much more fun.
As evidenced by take something. No.
Yeah.
So, what are you most proud of? You talked about teaching. What else?
Coaching.
Okay.
Coaching a boys' track team when I started out knowing absolutely nothing. Got talked into it to manage kids. Ended up being kind of pushed into the head coaching position because of a circumstance. Ended up really doing what I wanted to do with the kids, which was the whole experience of it. Your grades are important. I had 2 young men recently tell me that I pulled them out of class and I got in their face with the finger, and it wasn't even track season. It was November or something, but they were hanging around with the wrong people. Their grades had dropped, and the one young man said, it's the first I realized that you cared about me, because I was not your track star. I was a pudgy little kid.
Aww.
And you were in my face to get my grades up, or I was not going to be on your team in the spring. I met with him in Vancouver a couple of months ago, and that was of Joyfully. He's a wonderful violin player now, John Littlejohn.
Awesome.
But I ended up having two young men who I started them, others tweaked them. I don't want to get credit for their final journey, but the one of them was a state champ in the pole vault, and the other broke the state record in the long jump by 6 inches. And if you break a record by 1/4 of an inch, that's amazing, and he broke it by 6 inches.
I think I met him. He was here with his family,
He flew
right?
out here from Washington, D.C. when I was first sick, just to pray over me.
And it made a difference, right?
And in the middle of the prayer, it was a very fervent prayer, a long prayer. In the middle of the prayer, he said, "Please, Lord, take away Coach's nausea." And it was gone. And it stayed gone until just very recently, a year, it stayed gone.
So awesome.
Prior to that, nothing touched the nausea. Any combination of anything, nothing made the nausea go away. And my family was going to be coming in 2 days. And that was a turning point. That gave me the year of life of quality, because I started to be able to eat. Then I can't this time around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a major turning point. We've been in touch. I've been in touch with a lot of my former students.
That's a
It's a
testament.
feel good.
So, what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self? Knowing what you know now, what would you tell her?
Slow down. And don't feel like you can fix everything or everybody. Just because you're sending your love, at some point you have to distance yourself from toxic people or too much toxins, whether it's, in this case, I don't think it was people, because out here I've actually had a wonderful life, but I think it was maybe some childhood wounds, emotional, nothing else. Maybe certainly living in the center of Dow Chemical for 30 years probably contributed to the chemistry of my body. Whatever. Eat as pure as you can. Grow your own veggies.
Make your own water.
Make your own water. Whatever you can do to purify, because there's just a lot of stuff out there. But probably the biggest thing was, don't expect to fill your emotional hole from the outside. You've got to fill your own. It's an inside job. Your emotional wealth and well-being is an inside job. And learn young how to do that for yourself, so you don't have to go out on shopping sprees that are trying to fill holes. But I did love those shopping sprees.
You've got fabulously filled closets.
I know, somebody's going to have a really good time next week.
So, if, let's say you are granted another 20 years, what would you write?
Truthfully, what I want to write, and the only really big thing on my bucket list, is I started a story about me. It was a very exaggerated version of me, but it's the story of a woman coach of a young men's team. She starts out knowing absolutely nothing. She learns and learns and learns and goes to camps and buys videos and invites guests in, and she works with the kids' minds about seeing it in a positive light and seeing the outcome they want. She works with them on nutrition. She works with them on their grades. She's like the big mama bear, except kids respect their coach, so she could teach them anything out there. And it's based on me. There are some characters in there that have their own issues. I wish that I could write that. I still see it probably as a Hallmark little mini-series. I love Hallmark because they're happily ever after. I see the trials and tribulations of working in a very male-dominated area, and her tenacity and her being able to take her athletes to several undefeated seasons. That part's true. To take her long jumper up to, but not through the finals of the Olympic trials. The story really needs to take him all the way through the Olympics. So that part would be, but there was a lot of real stuff in there, and I'm sad that I never finished that. I also would like to write books or articles about staying positive with cancer. I think it's important. Every day you get up, you can choose joy or you can choose to feel like shit. And I just didn't like that second option. And so every day I would choose. You know, every negative thing has a silver lining too. Look for it. There's a lesson.
What surprised you most about cancer?
The number of people who came to rally around both of us. I was shocked at how many people have helped us to survive this. In terms of the disease itself, mine was never normal. It manifested as metastatic lobular breast cancer, but there was never any evidence in the breast or the lymphatic system. Some cells went rogue, took up residence in my stomach and small intestine, and grew some tumors there. And so treating it, there was never a conventional option. So I learned a lot of alternative things, and several of them helped keep me alive. So there's a lot out there. There's a lot out there. I was ready to try a new one, even as late as a couple of days ago, until my body is showing that it's already shutting down, and we can't reverse it at this point. So,
and you can not answer this if you don't want to. If you believe in heaven, or if you think there's somewhere you go, is there someone you're excited to see?
My parents. And I do believe in it. And I have friends whose parents have recently died, and it's like, okay, I'll give them a hug for you. And I have two close writing friends. One of them I just spoke with this afternoon, Paul, who's had a miserable, the worst day ever with his chemo today. And yet he took the time to call me. We're going to start a writing group. Yestree's the other one. And Paul may survive this, because chemo takes you near death and back.
Right.
And hopefully cures you. He's feeling the near-death part right now. And should he not come back, we're starting our writing group.
It's awesome. What are you going to write?
I'm going to finish the story somehow. Send it down.
Send it down.
I'm actually I'm telling you right now, because I told Mary earlier, if you think the storyline has merit, okay, not what I've written or not written, and you can take what I've written or not written, I don't care. You can take what I've written as just glimpses and put it with a good writer and have them write it. But if somewhere in your writing journey you run across somebody and you think, I bet they would like the story of a woman coach of a young men's team, I would hope you would connect them with my story.
I promise I will. Promise. I have to finish all my own damn stuff first.
Well, mine's not written. Mine needs a writer.
Right.
So mine needs a writer and somebody who believes in the storyline.
What was your greatest love?
People-wise?
Could be a tree, it could be a dog. What was the first thing that popped in your mind?
First thing that popped in my mind was Don, because we're openly grieving together.
Yeah.
He may not have been perfect, but he's been perfect for me. But I've loved other people. And two of them are still alive, and I will love them until the day I die. But it didn't work with them. they were good people to love, but not to coexist with in any way.
Right.
But yeah, I still love each of them, not in the way I love Don.
Don's a good one.
Don is a keeper.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. I hope everybody helps him through this next few weeks without driving him crazy at the same time.
I know, that's the hard part. We knew how to handle you because you would just tell us to go away. He's super polite.
I think he's getting more assertive for my sake at this point. He answered the phone 3 times today. It's like, who is it? Well, I'm protecting her from calls because...
Good. So, what else? What do you want to be remembered as? I think I already asked you that.
It's kind of when you did.
Yeah.
Kind person, loving person.
Any message? Any, not really regrets, but like somebody you wanted to say something to that you didn't, or a group of people that you say something to, or...
I don't have any unfinished business with people. If I do, I'll be making a phone call in the next 24 hours. Regrets is that when I was younger, I was too black and white because it was safer for me to pinhole people than to realize we were all shades of gray. And so I was sometimes critical of people that were just different than me because I felt so insecure about being me. 9 times out of 10, I wanted to be them. So I regret judging people without really knowing, because I've reconnected with some people at some of our class reunions, and it's like, oh my God, why didn't I spend time with you when I was younger? Well, when I was younger, I was ultra conservative and just so wanting approval from my teachers. So I was little Miss Goody Two Shoes. If there was a way to do it right, I did it right for their approval, not because necessarily it was right.
Right. So let's say Halloween is tomorrow. What would your costume be?
I hate Halloween. And I hate the fireworks at the 4th of July.
I hate the fireworks. Why do you hate Halloween?
I guess we never got into it as kids because we lived way out in the country, so there was no trick-or-treating. I've never really gotten off on pretending to be somebody I wasn't. I spend so much of my time trying to let people know who the real me is that I've never gotten joy out of pretending to be something else or somebody else, and I never really wanted to be anybody else except maybe my friend Karen, who's out there in the kitchen right now, because everybody always remembered Karen. She was the soft, nice blonde, and I was the scraggly, witch looking. Maybe that's why, because I look like a witch. I don't know.
I look like a witch.
I got this sharp nose and this sharp chin, and I used to have my 7th graders, after they'd been with me for about 6 or 7 weeks, I would have them anonymously tell me what they thought of me the first day and then what they thought of me 7 weeks later. And they were hilarious. I mean, most of them thought I was a witch. Long, dark hair, sharp. I gave them the evil eye when they walked in the door, I'm sure. But
see, that's not even the Anawina. The Anawina is like this colorful ball of energy that bounces into a room and takes over it.
And even that, I used to dress very conservatively.
Oh God, I'd love to see that.
Black, white, and beige, because it was practical. You could intermix anything. And I had a speaker come in. It was back when you studied the seasons of color.
Right.
And I was a dramatic winder, and she also had other personality types like ingenue and romantic and dramatic, and you know, she went through the kids and then she looked at me and she says, "You are a very dramatic winter. You should show that off more." I'm wearing something black and white and boring, you know. And she said, "Start with a piece of unique jewelry." And so that was fun. I found a unique piece of jewelry. I wore it. I got compliments all day long.
Right.
And then that just expanded into brighter and brighter colors. It makes people smile.
Right.
And one person somewhere in the last year or two said, "Oh, you must like to be the center of attention." It's like, no, actually I don't. I'd like to slink in, and I never thought that you can't slink in looking like this, but this makes people smile.
Exactly.
And I wear it through airports, and people will run up and tell, because I have like matching shoes and hand-painted stuff, and people will...
That's how I would describe you during the conference. How do I know who's in charge? The colorful one. And they'd come back and they'd like, "You described that perfectly." Because they look to me like, "I don't even know what you're talking about." I go, you know when you see her.
Yeah, I like to think that I made people smile.
You
and
did.
that I made them think. And that they were better for having met me in their life.
I think everybody does.
I hope so. I'm sure I know I had some students who didn't like me, but most of them ended up liking me by the time they were done.
So, any advice to family? Nieces, nephews, brothers, sisters, cousins?
I pretty much have given it to each one of them over the phone in the last 48 hours.
Good.